desks. They're too tight. Oh, you're logged in as me.
Oh shit, that's right. Didn't even think about that.
You're like, why can't I get in? Crazy, right? The amount of security.
Be careful, that's got a razor on it, Levi.
Did you just do that?
I guess dismiss. Yeah, that's why I hate LastPass. It takes over their computer.
Oh no. All right, let's try it again.
There you go.
That us? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Boom. Okay, so that's working. You can close that one. Okay, let's get Chris in here. Chris should pop up. There he is. What's up, Chris? How are you, man?
Not bad at all. How you guys doing?
Awesome, awesome.
The light sucks.
Got to get that ring light.
Yes, I do.
Yep.
It's not gonna work.
Okay. Cool. Might just be the three of us then. Oh, that looks pretty cool, Chris.
Yeah, it does look
Yeah.
That looks way cool. I like that. Okay, so what's going to happen though, Tiffany, is we're going to have to keep watching the attendees kind of coming back to it to kind of look at it just to see if anybody else buzzes in.
Okay.
But we'll get started in a minute.
In a small window then? I can, you just drag and then, no. Here, I think. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's as small as you can do right there. You can do, that's about as small as they're going to let you do.
Might not work then when we pull up everything to show them, but.
That's about as small as you can do.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we'll go ahead and get started because I want to just get started on time. The rest of this can come on the replay.
Okay.
So Tiffany's going to take over and she's going to run the class tonight. And she'll introduce herself. So I don't need to introduce her. I've told you guys about her already. Anybody that's watching this on the replay, we're going to do another class with Tiffany on how to actually
Instagram stories.
Yeah, how to actually create a strategy around your content for newsfeed and Instagram stories. So tonight's is kind of probably should have been after that, but instead we're doing it before. But the reason I wanted to do it this way is I know a lot of people are already putting out content. So this is going to help. And then we'll do another class on content strategy creation and she'll do that as well. Okay. So if you guys have anybody watching this on the replay, or just, you guys tonight, if you have any questions, as always, just leave a comment in the Facebook group. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Tiffany, and she's going to take over. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to show her how to
share screen option. Yeah.
Let's see what happened. No, that's just options.
Oh.
So let's see. Give me 1 second. Let's see how we're going to share here. There we go. You'll do share, and then you'll pick your desktop and then go share.
Okay.
That's all you'll do. All right. So here's it, guys.
Hey guys,
Hey, how are you?
how are y'all?
Good, thank you.
Awesome. So as he mentioned, I'm going to let you guys see my screen as we move through today's class. But if you have questions as we go, just chime in, ask away. And if there's anything that you want me to see me break down even more, let me know. We're kind of trying to cover a lot of territory, and some of it might be stuff you're already pretty familiar with. But that being said, if you need more explanation or want to see something broken down a little bit more, just let me know, and I can definitely show that to you as we go.
Great.
Cool.
So
can you turn your laptop one more so
cool. So let me go ahead and move into sharing my screen here with you guys. Tell me how I did that one more time. Cool. Awesome. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Cool.
Green copy?
Yeah, matcha.
Okay.
Yeah. So just before we dive in, I'm going to show you an overview of what we're going to talk about. So obviously this is about how to make your brand shine on Instagram. We're going to talk about using your brand guide, creating content, scheduling it in a grid, and then pushing it to Instagram. So this is who I am, just to give you a little background on who I am. I've been doing social media for over 10 years now. Started working with some pretty large corporations, Yamaha, the music manufacturer, and the American Cancer Society. So I was able to get some pretty good training. And then I went out on my own, and I've been doing it for independent brands ever since. So just a little background on who I am. And this is our agenda for today. So first thing we're going to do is talk about how to gather your style guide and your brand assets. Then we're going to actually take that content using Canva and create a couple of Instagram feed samples and some Instagram story examples. And the reason why we're going to use Canva is because it's a relatively inexpensive platform, and it's really easy if you have no Photoshop experience whatsoever. It's not really required. There's great templates there. So we're going to use that today, but keep in mind, of course, if you want to use Photoshop or if there's another platform you want to use, you can use it. But I use Canva for a lot of my clients. Then we're going to take that content, we're going to pull it into a program called Planoly. And once again, Planoly today is just our sample app. There are other apps out there. Planoly is my app of choice. I find it to be very user-friendly, and the technology stays pretty fresh and up to date. As Instagram changes, it adapts and changes as well. And I'm going to show you the reason why we use that platform in between creating the content and pushing to Instagram is so that we can take a look at our branding, make sure it's cohesive, have a strategy, have a game plan before we start pushing things live to our audience. And so then the final thing we'll do today is pushing the content actually to Instagram. Obviously, I'm not going to actually push anything to Instagram tonight. I'm just going to show you the steps on how to do it, because if I did, I'd be pushing things to Instagram. But I'll take you all the way up to that point. Sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. And this is just kind of a visual of what I just mentioned. So all the way on the left, you'll see a sample style guide. This is for AkaShawnThomas' brand, obviously. You'll see, so we took that style guide. In the middle is an example of a story slide and a feed post that I've created in Canva using his brand asset guide. And then all the way on the right is an example of his Planoly grid. And you can see how it's nice and cohesive. And there's a strategy there with the kind of content that he shares. Cool?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So,
every now and then go back in and see if there's anybody that wants to.
Okay, cool. I will do that right now.
Let's see. So you might have to stop screen share to see.
Oh, I see. You don't think
Yeah.
it could be here?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, do stop screen share, just see.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
Nope.
you're good.
Okay, cool. Actually, I need to pull up your Google Drive real quick. So let me grab that before I, because I don't remember the link to it.
I hope I know how to get in.
You know, I can just show how to,
You know how to get
where
in
I
mine?
saved,
Did
you
I give
know,
it?
but I can also show where my things are saved in on my laptop, because I don't remember where that is.
We'll go into Google Drive and just, I guess, log in on my account, right?
It's okay. I really think it'll be easier to just show it on my computer if it's okay. It's just showing how it's organized.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, whatever you want.
So, I'm gonna go back to screen share. Here we go. Awesome. Okay, cool. So the first thing I want to talk about is your brand guide. Do both of you already have brand guides for your businesses?
Yes and no. Mine is getting revamped because when we looked into it, it was all the colors were different, so it's being redone to make it match. So
Cool. Well, so what I wanted to just show you really quickly was an example of a brand guide, a style guide, and also kind of how to organize some of those assets when they start rolling in. So as you can see here, this is just a mock-up, obviously, because Shawn has given me all of his assets so I can show to you how to kind of organize this. But here, first I'll pull up his style guide for you. Every brand guide is a little different depending on how complex it needs to be, but there's always going to be some similarities and some similarities. Hold on, sorry. Does not want to open with that one. Forget which one it is. Let's try this one. There we go. And that is that you're going to obviously want to see your logo. You're going to want to see your font. You're going to want to see a color wheel of some sort. And you're going to want to see some stuff that's related to like spacing of your letters. Like here, you see this gets pretty complex with symbol construction, showing, you know, the spacing that should be kept in mind at all times. This is an example there of some spacing issues and just making sure that that stays intact in all times. So there's some similarities you'll see in every style guide, but every style guide is going to look a little different depending on your graphic designer and how they build them. So this is just an example of one. You'll see here, we've got his color scheme with his hexagon numbers so that we can use these and then pull these numbers into the Canva template that we're going to use in a minute. Here's even some mock-ups of like what his stationery looks like, business cards, envelopes, etc. So this is really nice, simple, like one-page style guide. You'll see, like I said, some that are, you know, 10 pages, 20 pages long, especially as companies get larger and they have to have more rules in place. But this is a good example of just, you know, a pretty good starting place for you. So when those assets start coming in from your graphic designer, one thing I always recommend is that you get really organized when you're saving them, because when you have a business for a while, like for example, I've had my business for almost 10 years now, and I still have the same brand, same logo, same everything. And I'm so glad that I saved everything as neat and orderly as I did, because it's amazing what you forget when time goes by. So just organize it when you start getting those assets in. You'll see here, I've got his logos in a folder, and in that folder, I've got subfolders. So I can see here's his full logo, meaning it's got the name and the logo. All the different color variations here. Sometimes you'll even have different file types. So you might have some PNGs and some PSDs and some JPEGs. You might have some print-ready files and some web-ready files, just however they come from your graphic designer. Make sure it's all broken down and saved accordingly. You should also ideally have some logo marks. This is going to be something that's like a condensed version of your logo that's really easy for you to use, especially on social media when sometimes space is of a premium, right? So you might not have room for a full logo, but you still want to brand it and put your stamp on it, and that's where logo marks come in really handy. And then a lot of times you'll also have a logo that maybe is just the name without any sort of icon if you're using an icon with your logo. So this is just a couple examples of that. You'll also have your fonts. You want to make sure you get the actual font files from your graphic designer. Sometimes you'll have to purchase them yourself. Sometimes your graphic designer will be able to share them with you. Make sure you have them. Make sure you've saved them somewhere in your computer. Just goes to show you that, you know, the font is going to have different weights and condensed and light and medium and bold. So I'm just showing you here how I've saved all of these in one folder, pretty self-explanatory. And then obviously his style guide is saved here as well. So I just wanted to run through that real quick because we're going to start to pull those assets into Canva so I can show you how we make sure that you're keeping your branding intact from, you know, your style guide all the way through to your Instagram. So from there, I'm going to open up Canva for you guys. I'm already logged in here, but obviously if you don't have a Canva account, you'll go to the main Canva page, you'll log in, create an account. It is free to have an account, but if you want to be able to bring in your specific brand assets, meaning your fonts, your logos, your colors, you have to upgrade your account. It's pretty inexpensive. It's $9.99 a month if you sign up for a year, if you pay for the year in advance. Otherwise, it's $12.99 a month. And you do get a 30-day free trial. So you get plenty of time to kind of play with it, make sure you like it before you sign up. But the reason I love it is because it is full of templates. So it really does make your life easy. And if you spend the time on the front end like we're about to do, and you load in your brand guide and you load in your assets and you find some templates that are in line with your brand, it becomes pretty plug and play as you go, and it becomes just easier and easier to work in. So what we'll do here is, if this was a brand new account and you're logged in, you're going to see here over to the far left side in this column, says your brand. And if you click on this, what it's going to take you to is a page that you get to just fill with your brand kit assets, right? I've already preloaded a few, and then I'm going to load a few with you just to show you how simple it is. But as you can see here, I've already preloaded in his brand colors. So this is super simple. If I was looking back at his, let me come back here to his style guide and show you. So if I scroll down and I'm looking here at his colors right here, right? So I see here C4, C5, C7 as one of his colors, right? So I'm going to go here and I'm going to push this plus sign, and I would put in here C4, C5, C7. And this is going to be the color in one of his brand guides. You're just going to hit enter, and there it is. Boom. I've already got it in there. So, but you can see how simple that is. You'll add in all of your colors, and this becomes your little color wheelhouse that you use when you're building all of your assets. Super simple. Same thing with logos. All you do here is you're going to hit on a plus sign. Oh, sure. Do you have any questions so far? No? Okay, cool.
Not me.
Cool. So same thing with logos. You'll go here to the logos. You'll go to where you stored your logos. Hopefully they're all nice and organized. And then you'll just pick one. I've already preloaded a couple, so I'm going to pick one that I haven't loaded in just yet. Let's go with this one. Sure. And it'll just start to upload.
Does it? Sorry, can I ask something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does it matter what extension it is, if it's PNG or JPEG or?
It doesn't matter. So Canva is really great. It'll allow you to bring in JPEGs and PNGs. Obviously, if you want a transparent background, PNGs are great for that. If the transparent background isn't as important, all of these, as you can see, have a transparent background. That's what this.
Explain what that means, just so they kind
of
understand what transparent means.
So that's what this little gray and white grid back here actually symbolizes. It doesn't mean there's a gray and white grid behind his logo. It means that that is a transparent background logo. So if I pull this logo onto a fully black square grid, there's not going to be a white or anything behind his logo. It's just going to be his logo on that black grid with no extra block around it. So PNGs typically are best for that, but you can bring in both, and it won't take you long to kind of play with that. If you forget that tip and you pull in a JPEG and then you try to put it on a black or a dark background and it's got a big white box around it, that's just your sign that you need to bring in a different file version of that logo. And PNGs are usually best for transparent backgrounds, but you can bring in both with Canva. It's really friendly in that regard. You can bring in both versions even if you want. As you can see, you can just keep adding logos till your heart's content. So we've pulled in our brand color palette. That's step one. We've pulled in our logos. That'll be your step two. Then over here, our third step is actually going to be to bring in our fonts, because over here in your font section, it's going to have preloaded just some real basic options here for you. So you're going to want to bring in your actual fonts, and this is the exact same process. So you're going to click on the plus sign. You're going to go to your folder where you kept all of the fonts in a nice orderly fashion somewhere. You're going to pick your fonts one by one and bring them in. You're going to say that yes, you have permission because you've purchased these fonts for use for your company, and it's going to say okay, and it's going to start uploading. Once again, you can upload all of the font versions that you need here, and it'll just continue down this long list. Once you have them in here, then you can change this accordingly, because you'll go here to this little pencil mark to click edit, and you'll say, okay, actually Acumen Pro Bold is the font that I want to use for all the headings. And, you know, maybe I say Acumen Pro Regular is the font I'm using for subheadings. And then for my text, I'm using something that's a little bit lighter. And you'll pick this and preset this. It doesn't mean you can't change this when you're working in Canva and making Instagram posts for feeds. It's not necessarily going to hold you to this, but it's going to be really easy for you from here on out to create some consistency in your posts if you adhere to what you've kind of placed here as your basic guidelines. Make sense? Totally. Cool. So once you have this little piece of the puzzle created, it's done. You can walk away from it, and it's going to always be there for you to draw from. So it's worth maybe spending the hour, maybe if might not even take you that long, to just come in here, come to your brand page, preload everything in here, and then it really becomes a little bit more like play and less like work, because you've done a lot of that back end work already for yourself. We're not going to go too far into this today, but I'm just going to point it out real quick that you'll see here next to your brand kit icon, there's also something called templates. And this is what, as I mentioned before, the more you work in Canva, the easier it'll become, because if you start to find some templates that really resonate with you and you think work really well with your brand, you can save them here so that you can just come back to them whenever you want. So you can kind of pre-build them with your color palette, with your logos, with your fonts, and then just switch out the photo, switch out the quote, boom, brand new picture for Instagram, right? So that's what that is. I'm not going to go there just yet because I have some samples I'm going to show you in a different area, but that's what that is. I wanted you to be aware of it because it is super handy.
Check for more people that
okay.
If they came in.
Real quick, hold on, please.
Stop share.
Nope. Okay. Cool. All right. So from here, what I'd love to do is actually show you how to create some content. Cool. Awesome. Okay. So over here, again, you can kind of play around in Canva. It's pretty simple, but here at the top, all your designs, these are just all the designs that you've created. It's going to kind of pull them all into a feed right here for you. And I've already done some sample designs so that we can play today, and I can show you how easy it is to go from a template design to a design that is completely branded for your company. Cool. So I'm going to start and I'm going to show you a template design. Now, it's a simple search. Let me show you that really quick. So see up here where it says, what would you like to design? Let's say I said an Instagram story, right? Because we knew that's what we're going to create. I'm going to click on this and it's going to pull up a bunch of templates. This is the only part that can get a little bit tedious because you can get a little overwhelmed by all the templates that are out there. But again, if you kind of have a good idea of what your brand is and where you want to go, you might know that, you know, emojis and things like that aren't your on brand for you. You only want things that are photograph friendly, or you want things that are mostly text. It'll get a little easier as you play around, but that's the only part that can get. I can go down a long dark cave there if I am not careful, just looking for the right template. But I've already picked a couple for us, so I'm going to show you what happens if I've just picked this completely unrelated template, not related at all to Shawn Thomas and what he does as a mentor. But I saw the bones here and I really liked them. And I thought this could work well for his brand. So this is what the template, the story template looked like when I pulled it in. It is a multi-page story template, which I love because when I'm creating a really great Instagram story, I think it's important to lead our viewers into a little a narrative, right? And to not give them too much text on each slide so that they can just keep clicking until we get to the action item. So I loved that it already had some pre-built pages. They all matched, but they were different. And they were relatively sleek and streamlined, which I think works well with his style guide, but still a little bit youthful and playful. And again, I thought that worked well with his style guide. So this is what it looks like before. If we come back over here, I'll show you what it looks like after I edited it, and then we're going to edit it together just to show you how simple that is. So here is what it looks like once I edited it.
Are you planning on using this?
Are you going to use it? He's asking, you're going to use it.
I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows? Oh. We just kind of made it as a test.
Oh, okay.
So here is how it looks once I've made the tweaks. So you can see here, this is now Shawn. This is from his font guide. This is the only font right here in the front that's actually not from his style guide. As I mentioned, you don't have to always be completely on with that. If you want to get a little bit playful every now and again in stories, it's a good place to do it. As long as, I would say 85 to 90% is pulling from your brand guide and it still looks nice and cohesive, you'll be fine. So I just kind of led the viewers down a journey of buying his Power of Naivete kit. So here's my next slide, which on the other one was also very text heavy, but I've turned it into a question for him. The next slide, how you can overcome it. Then just a nice little, motivational phrase from him, which is something he does all the time. And then at the end, we've got our sales pitch, if you will, which is to swipe up to tap into your power and get this kit. So really simple, right? Pretty straightforward, looks nice and cohesive, looks like his brand guide, and it came from this. So I'll show you really quickly, I'll show you how we edited that. So if this was the template we decided to work with, the first thing I usually do is just go ahead, and if you click on the photo, you're going to see where it brings up this, where now it's pretty clear that I can move this around and I can edit it. So the first thing I'm probably going to do is just get rid of that photo because it's distracting me, right? It's not relevant.